He is ready. Caleb Williams is ready to roll into the regular season as we wrap up Friday night's preseason game against the Kansas City Chiefs. The regular season is here. Welcome to Bears Digest, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Dylan Quincy. If you have not subscribed already, please do so. It looks like 67.5% of you have not done so. So please do to get those continued updates, news, rumors, breaking information as we ramp up into week one. So, regular season is upon us. The preseason has wrapped up with a 29-27 win for the Bears on Friday night. It was wild. It was all over the place. We'll get into that here shortly. But just want to express my exciting nature and thoughts about the regular season finally being here. We can put everything else aside on what we've seen so far. It is time to actually hit other teams where it counts. So, as we get into the recap for Friday night's preseason game, Caleb Williams against the Chiefs played pretty much the entire first half. He was 11 of 15, 73% completion percentage over that Ben Johnson mark that he wants of 70, 113 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 116.8 passer rating with 1 sack. His time to throw as well, if this is important for some of you, was 3.06 seconds. For relation to Patrick Mahomes, his was 3.18 seconds. So if anybody was criticizing his time to throw, you are mistaken on that. Overall, I think it was up and down. He did take one bad sack there that you see. That was his only sack where he did hold the ball a little bit too long. But I think that's just the kind of the nature of it, especially when you're running some vanilla plays on offense. You're probably going to have some coverage sacks, and that's just what that was. Everybody kind of explaining or, saying, oh, he should have just thrown the ball away. He was in the pocket, guys. You can't throw the ball away. That is a loss of down and a penalty for intentional grounding, so you cannot do that. And you also don't just want to throw it at somebody's feet because you do not know what defender is looking, paying attention, or they're ready to swipe up an interception. So that stuff just isn't going to happen. You're going to have coverage sacks throughout the year. I know everybody's a little bit scarred from last year and how many sacks that Caleb Williams took, but overall, guys, you're going to have 30 to 40 sacks every year at your quarterback, right? You're going to have 1 or 2 a game. That's kind of what you strive for, to be honest. You don't want more than that, but you're going to have that many sacks, right? That's how it goes in this league. So I don't think we should be overly pressed on 1 sack, or if he takes, 1, 2 sacks where he holds the ball too long in the regular season, that's fine, right? We just can't have those games where it's 5, 6, 7 sacks, and that being a recurring theme for this year. So overall, that was a good performance. It was sloppy at the beginning, and I think Caleb Williams in this offense, they're just ready to go into the regular season, and the defense as well. It really just looked like a lot of the times in this game that they were just trying not to get injured. That's definitely not what you want here. You want to get them reps. You want to get them ready to go. You want to get them fresh. I feel like they're just fresh already anyways, and they're just ready to get into the regular season. Now, that doesn't kind of take away from the sloppiness that we did see from this team. But overall, I think they are just more than ready to get into the regular season, just as we are ready to see them. The performance in that first quarter and pretty much the entire first half was a little bit disheartening if you were looking for, a great performance in terms of beating the Chiefs starters. Now, if we're looking at this from a realistic perspective, this was a rainy, wet day at Kansas City on the road where they have lost a total of 20 games in 6 years. Their entire starting unit was out there, including Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Those guys just know how to play. It's just something that is a second nature to them at this point, especially in this offense where they've been in the same offense for years and years and years. So you can expect the Bears or any other team to go in there and lose that game or lose that portion of the game against the starters there. We are nowhere near ready for that point. And Ben Johnson did state that, which we'll touch on here later. But that's okay. We don't expect them to be at that point. I think they looked serviceable against the Bears starters the Bills starters in that joint practice. And that's kind of where you want to be, just being able to compete with these contenders starting units. And the Chiefs starting unit is going to beat the majority of teams that they face every year, all year at home. So that's nothing different there. But again, it is preseason. We're throwing out vanilla looks. We're doing basic concepts on offense, basic play calls. And defense as well. We didn't even have our starting secondary at the cornerback position. So they were getting burnt up a little bit. But overall, that is fine. Caleb Williams, the team, they are ready to go for the regular season. Could not be more excited to finally start covering real, active details about the regular season and when we start off against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. So just want to recap here the 29-27 win. It was about 7-3 or 17-3 nearing halftime. Got that score there to Odunze from Caleb Williams at the goal line to get that to 17-10. As the second half progressed, this team looked a little bit shot down, and Tyson Bagent, the man, brought him back and got a last-second TD to Jaylon Walker, which we will also cover there a little bit. So always want to give Tyson Bagent and those backups their starters as well, because we might not talk about them at all the rest of the year going forward, or at least you kind of hope you don't going forward. So I want to give them their flowers as well. Another thing I want to touch on there that was kind of a blessing in disguise, in my opinion. It doesn't look great on paper, 30 carries, 114 yards for the game, but the rushing attack overall, I thought from DeAndre Swift, I thought he looked more decisive. I thought he looked more comfortable with where he was going when he was getting those carries. He looked very athletic as usual. That hurdle is very nice there on the sideline as well. I think he's ready to go. I think that he kind of showed some promise there in the running game. I know 7 carries for 28 yards isn't, the craziest thing to discuss there. But overall, he just looked very swift, I guess you could say. So, no, it's a good game from Swift. I'm excited to see him in regular season action. I think the interior offensive line is going to open up some really, really good holes for him to finally just punch through and hit rather than dance around in the backfield or try to bounce it out when it's not there. I think the coaches are really stressing that upon him to, hey, this hole is going to be right here. You hit it, you go downhill. We're going to get 3, 4, 5 yards a clip, and that's what we really need to be successful in the running game, play action game, take some stress off Caleb Williams' shoulders, and everything like that, right? We want to get to spots where we are at 2nd down and 4 or 3rd down and 2, right? You want to get to those areas where you can kind of open up the playbook and have everything at your disposal to call the correct plays and continue to make drives alive. So that is what we're striving for there. Last thing, too, I want to touch on here is Tyson Bagent putting on a show in the second half of the Bears preseason finale. Coming off of the contract extension for Tyson Bagent, he was 20 of 28 passing, 212 yards, 3 touchdowns, 128.9 passer rating, and that game winner with 3 seconds to go to Jaylon Walker. So very nice to close it off for Tyson Bagent. What a preseason and what an offseason that guy has had. All props to him. He's a pro's pro. Guys, we mentioned before, very good to see him just go out there and do some good things. And honestly, we hope to not see him, this year unless we're blowing somebody out. I'd love to see him there, but hopefully this is kind of the last that we talk about Tyson Bagent for now. And that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing for him. That's a good thing for this team. I know he wants to get on the field, of course, but he's going to play that backup role to a T. He's going to be great. He's going to be supportive of the rest of the staff and the players. So excited to see him get a good performance there to wrap up the preseason. Now, on to some of the sloppy stuff from Ben Johnson that was stated there. That was stated there from Ben Johnson. This was in his press conference right after the game. If the first quarter was really any indication, it's not good enough. So we got to get better in a hurry. Good news is we'll be able to look at this tape and coach it up with our guys. And I think it's out of our system, hopefully for us going into the regular season. We got to make sure we start faster on offense and on defense. So overall, guys, it was sloppy to start the game in the first quarter. Of course, we did mention that. And I did also mention that it just seems like this offense, defense, these players are just ready to start the regular season. I think this was good. It was a little bit of a wake-up call to ensure that these guys are ready and they're not kind of too big for their britches after some good performances there against the Bills last week and some good practices being stacked up. I think this kind of allows them to go out there and focus a little bit more in practice here the next couple weeks, and they're actually going to start game planning for the Vikings. This allows them to refine the things that they need to refine, go out there, fix everything that they need to fix, get Ben Johnson happy, get Caleb Williams and Ben on the same page going into the regular season, and then they're ready to go. So it just allowed us to kind of take that step back a little bit and see the vision of what we need to fix going into the regular season. So this just makes sure that these guys are ready to go. Their mental headspace is correct. They're not riding too much of a high going into the regular season, which you never should in the preseason anyways, but just kind of ensures that, especially for some of the young guys that might, think, everything's good. We can kind of coast a little bit here till the regular season. Nope. They got to hit it right back on the head here after roster cutdown day and get after it with this team that they have. So going into Monday, we're going to be covering the roster cutdown, and Tuesday is when the official 53-man roster needs to be in place. So we're going to be covering all of those roster cuts, who's on the team, who's not on the team, if any surprises happen or last-second trades, moves, additions. We're going to be covering that. But overall, Week 1 is upon us, just about 14 days, so we're very excited for that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining another Bears Digest video. As always, bear down.